Welcome back to Not My Monk Life. I'm Aisha.
I'm Scott. It's really good to see you. It's actually really good for you to see us. I think I said that before. Hey, look at us forming like structure to
We
our
love
podcast. We're professionals.
it. Speaking of professionals with structure, this guy doesn't know our topic, so I have been thinking about love and healthy dynamics in relationships because I feel like I've gotten to a place where I've reflected on my moments where, I one tolerated dynamics that I didn't really need to tolerate, but also I've grown up in myself and started to allow myself to communicate and express and be vulnerable and just being honest and also being vulnerable and finding the people that resonates with and being okay to let people go if being honest and communicating a certain way is just not working because I've been also allowing myself to realize, okay, that doesn't mean that the love is not there. Maybe it's compatibility. Maybe it's just not the right timing. Maybe communication styles just aren't the same, and that's okay. um, but I've been feeling very free and enjoying just being able to be in a space of honesty with all the people around me.
I love that topic. I think
One
that's
of
so
my
sweet.
I wanted to talk about it with you specifically because one, this is my only podcast. Two,
Valid.
you're the only person I talk about this stuff with. For those of you who don't know Sky in real life and who can't tell, but Sky is one of the best communicators. And when it comes to being super vulnerable and expressing how you feel or what you need, I feel like you just do it so well because you come from a place that's very, very direct, but you're also aware of how things will be perceived. Like, I'm not gonna say it's easy at all because I know it's not. And I know you put a lot of thought, like a lot of thoughtfulness into communication. Um, so yeah, I guess just to ask you, like when it comes to feeling one when it comes to just that self-love and self-respect that you have for yourself and being able to ensure that you communicate for one yourself but also for another person, like finding that balance between those two because you can communicate how you feel and it can be very mean and I could not consider a person at all, but it can be really honest, or you can communicate in a way that's based off of fear or like knowing that a person takes this way of communicating like a lot better, but it can be actually like really dismissive to what you're trying to say and not really get your point across.
It's a really good point. It's a really good point. Well, first, thank you for saying all that about to me. Thank you. I I hype my mom up about this a lot because my sister and I are both the same. We're very direct people. And I'm like, how did you raise us to be this way? And she's just like, I don't know, because she's not always super direct. But somehow the two of us are. But I do think like a lot of it has come with practice and time because even that whole thing of like losing the goal of what you actually had to say and what you actually feel to appease someone's emotions has definitely affected me
Mhm.
many times before. And I think you and I have talked about this before. I think earlier on in our friendship, I was in this era, and even just like with time, I've like fallen into this many times. I remember us talking about this specifically of like us realizing that, but like just don't keep going. Like sometimes the one is just like to talk and 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 talk. And I just like simplify it for the people. Keep it so simple. Like do not give them reasons or excuses or like I feel this way because in my childhood no. Like if you're having a conflict, like the want our like instinctive want is to be like, you hurt me. I know this wasn't your intentions. Also, it probably hurts more because I experienced this once, and also this is happening, and I just want you to know that like I don't blame you. I don't think that you're a bad person, but if you could stop doing this because it really does like da da da. But when you sometimes give people all of that extra whatever, all they hear is I experienced this when I was a child and it makes me sensitive. Like that's all they're gonna hold on to because
That's
people do
true.
right.
They
They
come
look
up
for
with
no, go ahead.
it becomes the, oh, this isn't my problem. Or you feel
Yeah.
this way based on something I did, but you're saying it's not actually something I'm doing.
Exactly. Like they're looking for anything to get out of it.
Yeah, because
Like, oh, I'm not the bad guy.
yeah, it's uncomfortable to hear when
It
someone's bringing
is.
something up that is caused by you doing something or they're being affected by something you're doing or saying. Like that's so uncomfortable to sit with. So yeah, they're gonna, naturally you don't want
Yeah.
to hear that, so you're going to hear what else is being said. Like, oh,
Yeah.
childhood trauma, parents. Got you.
Parents. I know this is hard for you because of those parents you have, but it's just like, it's hard for me because you did it.
That's so real.
It's so real. And so it's like because I just know I've had to really put that into practice of like calm the ramble, calm the like anytime that I'm out here trying to like really like stroke someone's ego while also holding them accountable, it's so counterproductive. It makes things it makes some things worse. So really it's just like, hey, you said this, I didn't like it, can you stop? And if someone asks for additional context, you can give it to them. But a lot of people aren't gonna like ask. You know, some people, I think that like maybe even like with the two of us, if like, I don't think this has ever happened with us, but like if I said something, I, if you said something to me, right, and it like made me feel a type of way, and I went to you and I said, hey, you saying this to me made me feel bad because back in the day, whenever someone said this to me, it meant this, and it was just really upsetting, and da da da. You'd you take accountability for my feelings in that moment. It wouldn't be like, my intentions weren't, it would be like, this hurt her because of trauma or something, so I'm gonna stop and moving on, la da da. Whereas, like, that's just not the experience for a lot of people. And it's also, like, not everyone's instinct to be like, to want to take responsibility, to hold accountability for the things that trigger you. They're like, that's your problem. I'm not a bad guy. I didn't mean it like that. It's like, if this triggers you, I'm going to be very thoughtful around this thing. And if I accidentally say it or do it, and you've told me before this is a trigger for you, I'm not going to feel good about it. I will apologize and I will actively do better in the future. And I will be responsible for my actions. It's not like it's not my responsibility just because it's not like textbook bad. We have a relationship. Within our relationship, it's established that this is a thing that we do not do or say. And that's my responsibility as a friend, you know?
That's a really good point because I think there's accountability or responsibility and just being like a caring, loving person that if someone if someone says something that is triggering, you want to be like naturally if you're close to someone, I assume you want to be mindful of that, but I also know that there's a responsibility on both ends to one communicate the trigger in like a way that's going to be heard. Lashing out every time, that might not get your point across, but it's not that your feeling is not valid. It's not that how you feel is invalid. It's not that there's a clear right or wrong.
I do think that's a really great like take to like look at not just in communication the person like receiving whatever critique, the person communicating said critique of being like you can't just get mad and huff and puff and slam a door. Like let's just say what we need to say. And it really like makes me think of, I feel like it affects the most like romantic relationships and like really close friendships. Um, when stuff like that like really, really comes up and taking that time to even like, and that's a huge thing, it's just taking the time to be like, this thing triggers me. Why? So you can go to them and like have some logic to it because it can't just be like, oh, you were a little quiet today, and I can't stand when you're a little quiet. So stop being a little quiet. No, why does this person being a little quiet randomly? It's not a crime. You're a little quiet too. It's like, why does that like make you feel a type of way? And is that something that they need to fix or something that you need them to hold space for you for? Is it when you're a little quiet randomly, I'm gonna get a little tense? Just be patient with me. It's because like back in the day when this person was a little quiet, it meant that they were upset with me and they started da da da. It's like, which of the things is happening, but no matter what, if you're in a friendship or close relationship with somebody, you can bring them into that with you. Because you don't want them to be confused. That
Mm,
is the
no.
worst.
Yeah. It is the worst. I've been on both sides. The confusing one and the confused one. But one thing too that I've thought about, because I've been in situations where I've just been scared to tell my boyfriend that like I feel some type of way and where it comes from because I don't know how it will land. One, that's its own issue. Like evaluate why you don't feel safe to talk to your partner, because that's important. First is establish a safety for communication in order to communicate. But anyways, like that aside, I have also thought about how I have felt safe, but I felt like I needed to for the sake of closeness or for the sake of just like letting someone into my world, walk them through everything. So going back to what you're saying about clear and concise, if I'm actively processing something, sometimes, yeah, I can process in the moment with someone, but having that space for myself to really connect with why is this triggering and what do I need going forward has been so necessary because if I'm already in a triggered state, I can tell you everything else is going to be triggering. So even
Yeah.
like the way you might be listening to me, if it's like, no, let's solve this together, let's work through this together. Now you're pissing me off because you're here. And then you're about to give me space, that's gonna irritate me more. But I've realized that okay, space in a triggered moment is better than no space because I can't like sit. This is me personally, but I feel like I don't have the freedom to really sit with everything because I still fall under that trap. Like I think naturally I want to appease people and I want to take on their emotions and hold emotional responsibility for other people. So even when I'm really frustrated and trying to hold myself accountable for boundaries or like assert boundaries and hold someone else accountable for whatever, um, if they're in the same space while I'm heightened and I don't fully understand why, then instead of just really processing and focusing on myself in that moment, I'm more fixated on how this is going to land or like trying to ensure that this isn't going to emotionally affect someone. And by doing that, it always emotionally affects other people. It's not the best thing to do. But yeah, like I think there's a helpfulness, and I love being in a place in my friendships and like romantic relationship where I can express, like, hey, this affects me or I have this thing coming up today, but it could just be that. Like it could be a one sentence thing rather than me
Yeah.
talking the whole day. There's a place to be open about where you're at, but um also allowing yourself to basically not trauma dump. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to do that to
Yeah.
allow someone into your world.
I think that's huge. Like, you don't have to share everything is huge. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes it feels like, I feel like back in the day for me, it felt like if I walked into trying to build a relationship romantically with someone, actually any relationship, any of them, it was like I had to tell them all of my trauma, like all of it. I had to be
I
like,
thought,
this is hard for all of these reasons,
yeah.
versus like, hey, just be thoughtful about this. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, And it was very freeing when I realized that I didn't owe anyone any information. Like, I don't owe anyone any information. I can share, literally anyone, I can share with my partner what I think is important and applicable,
Yeah.
especially if something is affecting us. But,
Mhm.
like, I don't have to tell him about every bad day I've ever had or, like, my worst memory. He does not need to know. Like, he doesn't have to know all of this. If it's something that's, like, affecting me, he's someone who I can talk to if I choose. And I think that there's just choice in it. You don't have to fall into a codependent situation of we tell each other everything. You don't have to. You can tell each other everything that's ever happened to you ever, but you don't owe it to anybody, and everything can come in time. I feel like I don't know. I
That's
feel like if you're like in love with someone, you'll probably eventually tell them everything. But it's not like I owe them. I have to tell them this bad thing happened to me. I'm so sorry to you, sir, who met me years after this bad thing happened. I'm so sorry that this happened to me. I'm sorry that I let this happen to me. It's like, no, like, it's not like that. It's like, if you want to share, it's because you want to let them into your life. It's not because you owe them any history or explanation. It's because you trust them enough to tell them at that point.
I've been thinking about this a lot because I have been in that place where the person I'm with knows every single thing about me. Like everything. But that's also just the way I think the closeness formed from that vulnerability with each other. And it wasn't like one-sided thing. It was always very mutual and organic and natural. But I also have gotten to experience slash like get to experience the feeling of, oh wait, I don't have to tell, like, we don't have to talk about this. We don't have to go into all this past stuff at all, which is very abnormal for me. I always feel like that has to come up in order to also just validate we are so close. We know everything about each other. But I realize that the safer I feel and the more natural and light the dynamic is, the less inclined we are to even go down that. It's like we could talk about that for sure, and talk about past traumas and talk about things, and like that still pops up, but that almost sense of obligation to do that, it's just irrelevant because there aren't really active triggers in the space. Like the more
Yeah.
safety that's felt and the more focused on evolving in a space of love and growth. But just like the focus and the attention on let's just like enjoy this dynamic.
Yeah.
I think before that registered almost as a surface kind of relationship, a surface level relationship, but it's like no, joy is so deep. I'm like, if it's just joy, then it's not a deep, soulful
Yeah.
relationship. Where now I'm like, oh no, when I put the focus on joy, one, things naturally come up and we get to know each other, but it's so beautiful because the vibes are already so high. So it's like we could talk about things, and even the light that we talk about trauma, or like the light that we talk about these situations that were not fun, it's like storytelling time rather than this is an
Yeah.
active thing in this space. And
Yeah.
it's more like now we can laugh about that. Like, you did what? You took what? You let her say what? I'm like, let me tell you about my PMDD story. How crazy I get for 2 weeks out of the month or
So
have
grab some
gotten.
popcorn.
Um, but I also like wanted to ask you, I also wanted to ask you about being in relationships where two people are very empathic, because that for me has created that sense of, okay, I need to over explain or say something because I know you're picking up on it. So I've had
Yeah.
that. I feel like a lot of my dynamics end up being with people who are just on a similar wavelength, where they're going to have a dream and it is going to be very telling. um,
Right.
and likewise, that's just a dynamic I tend to experience in relationships where all the secrets get unveiled through the dream space. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because it creates a sense of, okay, I know you're going to feel into this. Or if I'm just off this day, I know you're going to feel into me being off, or like know that there's something weighing on me. But because you're empathic, I don't want to put this on you. And so it's
Oh.
this level of acknowledging what I feel. Like one thing I get kind of stuck on sometimes is, okay, how do I bring this up because this is on my mind and in my space, so I feel like you're going to pick up on it. And energetic boundaries are, it's that's a whole other episode. But for the sake of this, for the moments where you are just picking up on something that someone's going through and experiencing, for me, I naturally want, like, if I feel like someone's going through something, I do have a tendency to just check in a billion times, and that can be really annoying. But I also know that sometimes when people know you're empathic, they don't want to vocalize things because they know you're going to take that on.
I think that, so for me, the relationship in my life where the other person is the most empathic is you, like us. And
That's so
so, like,
true.
yeah. And so with that, it just builds trust. Like, it's literally like if I feel a type of way about something, it's never going to catch you off guard because you know that I feel type of way, and you will be welcoming to a conversation to discuss whatever is in my auric field. Like, I'll be like, okay, great, knew there was something going on. And it's not based on a place of judgment. I think also with the two of us, I don't know, we don't put things onto each other. And so my most like balanced empathic relationship is just very, very healthy. It's literally just
Oh,
like I can genuinely just trust you because it's just like it's also like if I'm like I think that she feels type of way about something, it's because you do, and then you're gonna come tell me when you're ready, and then we're gonna be like everything makes sense, and then we're just gonna move on, and it's always out of the space of love. And so that's where my mind goes. I think that in dating, you've dated much more. I don't know if I call them empathic or psychic or whatever partners.
no, I'm kidding.
I don't really have people have like dreams where, like I'm in their dreams. It's more so like, oh, I'm just here. Hi. It's never
Yeah.
like, you
No,
told me.
mine's like, I saw this text. Like, my dreams have been, hey, so I had this dream where I had this very specific text message from this person. One, does this person exist? Two, does this text exist?
I have not had
And
that.
then, like, other side, it's like, I had a dream where you were just processing or like questioning a lot related to this area, and I feel like it's holding you back in these ways, or like it's creating a dip in our space because there's something on your mind. Like it can actually incite conversation and communication, which is nice. But one, having a partner that's not just empathic but aware that they are, because I think because everyone is to some extent, but there are some
Yeah.
people who just be pretending that they aren't. And they're like, dang, I get all the signs that you feel blank, blank, blank. But you're chill.
Yeah.
But I really like you bringing up our dynamic because we do have the healthiest, most balanced, but also the most sensitive or in tune, I should say. When it comes back to trust and having an established relationship where you just trust that like someone's gonna say something, but also trusting that the other person's going to be okay. I realized when I
Mm.
reflect on my romantic relationships, if I am to unpack the past, I have taken on more of a mother role and felt this obligation to be there for someone. And I think just getting out of that conditioning when it comes to men and holding myself responsible for how men react and respond and how they feel. And, like a lot of responsibility associated with men and feelings when there's so much thought put on that, it's hard to have those boundaries, energetically speaking. And it's hard to have a place where it's like, no, I trust you to just come to me when you're ready, but also know that if you don't even know when you're ready, like, I'm going to be here for you. I don't have to
Yeah.
check in 30 times. And even with you, I feel like it's a similar dynamic where we'll still check in, and if we feel like the vibes are just like intense, we'll be like, hey, are you feeling this way? Just put it out there and just be like,
We have
I'm
dreams.
feeling it too. Yes.
Literally, we're like, I had a dream that you wandered away to hang out with these other friends and then da 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 da. And we're like, well, now that you bring it up. And it's a very safe space. I feel like the empathic thing just keeps bringing me back to trust. And I don't know if maybe I'm blending empathy with someone having a good intuition or very strong intuition. But it's like I experience people being like, I should share this information with her. I feel safe to say this to her. Um, but and I don't know exactly what that is, but it's just like giving someone the time to like work through resistance and then finding that fluidity like quickly of being like, because you can get like something is brought up, you get kind of like tight and like guarded. And it doesn't take long to let the guards down, like it's being guarded for 15 minutes or 5 or whatever, and then being like, actually this. And so I don't know if that's being empathic or intuition or trust or just building a good relationship, but I do think that is like the point of really good communication. It's really built on trust. However, sometimes you don't have trust and you still have to risk it for the biscuit. You really
That's
do.
true. And going back to trust, I think when there is not trust or when that's a hard space, that's where it just comes back to the self. And really, one thing that I've noticed, especially in our relationship, it's so easy to know how to navigate communication, specifically like trusting myself to know how to bring stuff up, came from the fact that I really respect how you you just walk the way you want to be treated, or you like walk the way you want a space to be held. And so there's not any confusion. And I know we've talked about this, but there's not any confusion of like, okay, how do I approach this or what do I say? Because one, I learn from how you approach a conversation and communication because however you approach it is probably how you want it reciprocated. You embody a space in a very particular way that's very clear within yourself, really encourages me to approach it the same way. And so I reflect on that a lot because there really is power in just you holding your own energy, and there's power with you carrying yourself a certain way and being very grounded from an authentic place. And I've noticed, like in romantic relationships, that if I do that, usually the outcome's great. But if there's a part of me that's trying to be more concerned about how this is going to cause you to feel, or which if this is going to be interpreted a certain way, then it ends up being unclear and like really wishy-washy. So just learning to trust your own communication and trust yourself and how you feel is like really really important because I see that you do that and you act on that and it really does make an impact on the other side.
That means that's so like very encouraging to hear. It's one of those things where I don't know if it's better at that or more consistent at that. So it's just very encouraging to hear you say that like I do that because I would like to do that. I think it's the imposter syndrome of like any person of like now I gotta start doing that. So I appreciate like it's very encouraging. It just encourages me to try to continue to embody that. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I think a part of that though, you take the space and you explore when it comes to vulnerability and communication. So no pressure to be perfect because you just being you comes across as very effective.
I do feel like there are times where like I said, like I'm very direct. I didn't realize how direct I was. Like literally, I just had no idea because it is instinct to express my feelings about things. And I realized that if I don't express the things and I do like worry too much about how this person, whatever, I will truly and utterly explode. Like something will burst out of me and it won't be like crazy, but it'll be crazy for me. That's kind of one of those things that like I experimented with back in like college once of just like, that sounds crazy to say. I experimented with communication back in college. Because someone had been like, oh, like you like really said something just then. I was just like, I did? I didn't think that was that crazy. Of just like, oh no, you just really like stood up for whatever. And I was like, let me just like keep it together. Let me like hold my whatever. And then I held it in for too long and I exploded. So ever since then, I've been very consistent in just expressing and saying, because then it's like when you become like emotionally constipated in that way, you no longer have like control over how you're expressing and connecting at that point, and then it becomes a problem.
It becomes a huge problem. Again, been on the receiving end, been on the I'm exploding end. Yeah, because also there's those moments too, especially in like a relationship where you're really close to someone in any dynamic like that, where if there's an issue or if there's something bothering you, you know that sometimes you know it's like not that big of a deal, or you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, or you want to give yourself benefit of the doubt, like and just blame trauma or whatever it is. It's easy to do that, but from my experience, it's also easy for that to build and build and build and dismiss it. So it doesn't mean that every little thing needs to be pointed out and talked about, but learning that communication and building that trust for yourself of, okay, I trust that if something is slightly off, because I am really sensitive to things, so whereas other people might have a higher capacity, if something's slightly off, like I need to sit with it within myself because that might form some weird subconscious
Yeah.
whatever. Um, but forming that trust within myself to know how to communicate with me and not dwelling on it too, because it's not, I've also been in the headspace like when I was younger to where I would overthink every little thing, and reflect or sitting with it doesn't mean overthinking. It really can just mean I acknowledge the feeling and going, from there deciding what needs to be done, because sometimes you
Yeah.
encounter things that need to be called out because they're legit red flags. And overlooking them is not what you should do. But just building that trust is so important with yourself and with someone else, to where you can be a human and experience the motion of emotions every moment,
Yeah.
but not get caught up in what do I do about it? Um, or ostracized or like just lashing out.
Yeah, sometimes you're just having a bad day and there's not like you don't have to do all this like mental work and work on your person and figure out the root of everything. Like literally just have a day where you're just mope. Maybe you're just really sensitive today.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like no shadow work is needed.
No, you do not have to get into the cycle of shadow work.
All the time for
Like,
everything. Just have a bad day. And know that you don't have to take it out on anybody. It's nobody else's fault. It's not your fault. You're just in a mood. And you can just be in a mood, and that's all right. And that's such a freedom. That is such a freedom to be like, I just need to sob. Okay, I'm done.
yeah,
And then move on.
it's a freedom to just be like, I'm disconnected today. Period.
Yeah.
For me, saying that is what connects me back sometimes.
Yeah.
Like just being open about that statement, but not having to go down the rabbit hole, because if I continue that thought, then that's just, I don't know where I'm gonna go. So,
Mm-hmm.
just being vocal and acknowledging that initial like sensation is helpful. Or like you were saying, if you feel like you need to cry and just sobbing it out,
Just
do
cry.
it. Yeah, let yourself just
It's
have that
okay.
day.
That is okay. You don't have to solve all your problems in one night. And that's like your communication with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, holding space for yourself and trusting yourself and being like, when you're ready to work through it, you will. It does not have to happen right now. Just be
That's
sad.
so important. When you're ready to work through it, you really will, because you have no choice.
Hold
I'm
on.
kidding. I'm kidding.
That happens when you shove it down for too long. It's like life or death. Work through it now, or
Yeah.
hopefully it's just like, hey, on a random Tuesday, you work through
This is
more.
not therapy. Not my life is not a therapeutic podcast, or it's not
This is
intended
not
to be
professional advice.
therapeutic, maybe for us it is.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, this is not professional advice. But yeah, you know when it's time to dissect something. Like you know when it's time to get something moving, and there's nothing wrong with it not being the time. You can have a trigger that's really prevalent, but you might not want to release it yet. And
Yeah.
that is uncomfortable to sit with, but you just might not be ready, and that's okay. So giving yourself grace and the TLC to sit in the discomfort of being so uncomfortable with being bothered by something is also part of the process.
I feel like that's even like taking it outside of your relationship with yourself. It's kind of the same with your friendships. I think that like sometimes respecting your friendship and respecting yourself in your friendship and your friend is taking space, giving them space. Like, is your friend in a really weird mood? Are they like maybe taking something out on you for whatever reason? Because when you're in pain, you take it out on the people that you love the most. It's like, okay, to protect your friendship, it's okay to take a step back and take space for as long as you need to then be able to return to a living space with this person. I think sometimes it's like we push ourselves to be up close and personal, and it can destroy a relationship when all it needed was a little bit of space for someone to work through something. And if they need you, they'll call on to you. But like, if I feel like sometimes friends are just like going through something and like they're just gonna be gone for a while. They're just missing. And it's easy to take it personally, which I totally get, especially if there's no communication about it, you're just kind of freaked out. But if you do learn that about that person, being able to kind of have some grace for them and be able to be like, it's all right to not be all up in their business right now. I think that's a really interesting thing to integrate, but I think it's a very helpful tool to have of like friendships, they ebb and they flow and they're up and they're down. And it's okay if they're like on and they're off as well, without anyone being like a villain.
That's really true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very healthy friendship because sometimes they can go into that codependent space where it's being treated like a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And then it's a little strange.
Ooh. I listened to one of our old podcasts over the weekend and we were talking about that and we were like, it takes a very special person. It was like basically like you lose some friendships and you gain others, and it takes a very special person to like be friends with you for decades, to like actually stick around, and not just stick around, but it takes a very special person to accept you for every stage that you're at versus like expecting you to be the person that you were when they met you and then feeling a type of way when you're moving differently. And so it's super natural for friendships to like not be as close anymore because you've changed. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And they can still be your friend, just like maybe they're not your best friend anymore, maybe they're not one of your closest friends anymore, but they're a cool person. And you're like, hey, whenever I'm in Tampa, we grab lunch. Tampa.
That's so funny. I'm thinking of Tampa and I'm like, the people that
So
I
I
know
will
in
not visit
Tampa,
you in Tampa.
I would never, I'm not gonna grab lunch with you, no.
I will not go to Tampa to see you.
It's such a good point though, and a good reminder that relationships over time, specifically friendships, like if you're in a romantic relationship with someone, maybe you should consistently talk to them and there shouldn't be years of time where it's just like, this is just a different stage. I'm just out here.
Low key though, maybe, I don't know, there's a lot of divorce in America. Maybe people just need a little bit
If
of quietness.
people do need space. Wow, okay. I don't know if you can see me spit because every time I get passionate and I talk, I salivate. And this is
You're
something I brought up before, and I bring it up every single time you and I
I
talk.
know.
So I'm
I
always like,
definitely can't see it because your screen is frozen, but I can hear you, so keep going.
well, let me know if it comes back or if it doesn't come back.
You'll come back, I have faith.
Space is needed. I've realized that the saving grace for my healthiest relationships has been space. It's not really a lack of space that's causing attention, like it affects it, but it's the lack of space to just sit with myself. Like it's the foreignness of being with yourself, especially when you're going through so much change, or like every day is different, every moment's different, and it's important to be able to come back to yourself and to not look back 10 years later and be like, dang, I'm a whole other person. Like that's going to happen, but hopefully it's in a way where you feel closer to yourself 10 years later rather than
Yeah,
where did I go? And I think the where did I go comes from a lack of space to just be with you.
for sure. Yeah, and even just like falling and blending in with that other person and being like, no longer having your goals and your identity anymore. Having balance and like equality in identity in any given space. Well, speaking of taking space, it's time for us to take some space from you guys and end this
Bye.
podcast. Goodbye. Thank you guys. Actually, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. We appreciate you for being on this journey with us. It's amazing, and love you so much.
Yeah, if you can't tell,
Yeah.
we're having so much fun.
No,
And we really appreciate you listening.
we are. We really appreciate you. So thank you. Oh, shout out our Not my monk life on social media. I can't. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to plug our social media yet. So you can be anxious. We're on Instagram and TikTok.
But we
Not my
will
monk
not
life
let
on
you
Instagram.
know where you can find it. You can figure it out yourselves.
Guess.
Is it called Not My Monk Life?
Is that it? Maybe do we make it really easy and simple to find? Maybe.
But we do post not just clips from these episodes that you're seeing right here, but we have a lot of throwback episodes and a lot of old podcasts because we've been doing this for 5 years. So, just follow us on there or just stalk all the videos because we pull our good points.
We do. We have some hidden gems in there. Actually, not hidden gems, obvious gems. They're all obvious gems. So check it out. We're around and about. If you don't want to, I was gonna say if you don't want to listen to the whole, go listen to the short ones. Actually, but don't. Do both. Do all the things if you want to, actually. No pressure. Only love. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Go take some space. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.